Here's the snapshot for Guelph, plain and simple. 615 active listings as of the end of June, while 148 homes sold, and 1 in 5 of those that sold actually sold over asking. So which is it? A market that's slowing down or a market where sellers are still fielding multiple offers? The honest answer is both. And I want you to understand why this matters and how this will help you moving forward when you're planning your next move. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's behind these numbers, section by section. You'll also know whether the bungalow market right now is seeing real demand or is there a pricing trick kind of happening in the background. And you'll know which Guelph neighborhoods are actually getting more valuable and which ones just look that way because of what they happen to sell. And you'll know where your leverage sits right now, whether you're buying, selling, or planning your next chapter, along with what your interest rate and the broader economy actually mean for you and your timing. These numbers come straight from the Guelph Real Estate Board, not a headline someone wrote for clicks. It's what I'm looking at every month with the buyers and sellers I actually work with here in Guelph and across the surrounding region. So let's start with where the story actually starts, with the full picture behind the June snapshot. Guelph sits at 4.1 months of inventory right now. Now that's a balanced market, drifting slightly toward a buyer's market, but nowhere near the buyer's market you might be hearing with the GTA headlines. And homes that did sell in June went for 97 to 98% of asking price on average. Those two numbers together tell me something the headlines miss. This market has more room in it than it did a year ago, but it hasn't collapsed by any means. It's found a new normal. And understanding what that new normal actually looks like, section by section, is what the rest of this video is about. I work with people in Guelph, Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge who are in exactly this situation. Many of them are in their 60s and 70s or older. They've been in their homes 20, 25, sometimes 30 years, and they own outright or close to it, and they're trying to figure out what their next chapter actually looks like. Now, let's get into the rest of what that snapshot is actually telling us. 1 in 5 sellers, roughly 20%, still had a bidding war on their hands in June. Here's the part that's harder to hear. The average price is down 4% year to date, and 55 fewer homes have sold this year compared to last year. That represents a 13% drop. So today's pricing is back where it was in 2021. And if you bought anywhere from late 2021 through to 2025, on paper, you're likely underwater right now with this declined average sale price. That's not me trying to alarm you. It's the honest starting point for everything else in this report. We aren't seeing the appreciation as we did from 2010 through to COVID days. Now, detached and condo are not the same market right now. They're barely cousins, I would say. Detached homes saw 111 homes sell in June, about 3 per day, and 18% went well over asking, averaging about 97% of lists. Prices range from downtown semi around $545 up to $2.7 million for a home in Courtright East neighborhood. Inventory is up 5% this month to 320 homes, and condos saw 37 homes sell in June. That's an improvement to just about 1 condo per day being sold. And for a long stretch, we saw less than 1 condo sold per day. In fact, it was about 0.8 at one time. So this is really encouraging news for condos in general. And more encouraging news for condos is that 19 of those, more than half, went over asking. So prices range from the low 200s in Dover Cliff neighborhood up to 1.3 million in Victoria North. And detached supply keeps growing while condo supply holds steady. That gap is worth watching over the next few months to see what is actually changing. Now, the segment I think matters most if you're planning on a downsize is bungalows and bungalofts. Living on one level is the whole appeal for these types of homes for retirees. And in July, 22% of bungalows sold over asking. There are only 2 real explanations for that. Either sellers are listing well below market on purpose to spark a bidding war, or there's genuine demand pushing the price up on its own. So I looked at 3 things to figure out which one it is. The retirees and downsizers I work with are the ones asking about bungalows, and one level living is the reason they like bungalows. First, terminations. Those are listings that get canceled and likely relisted at a new price, and they're up 33% to date for bungalows. Now that tells me sellers likely listed too high, more often than not too low. And second, the number sold. It's flat year to date. It's 141 bungalows, the same as last year. And the third is price. Both the average and the median sale price for bungalows are down this year, not up. So put those three factors together and it doesn't add up to underpricing, driving bidding wars. And if it were, I'd expect prices to climb, not fall. What's left is genuine demand. There simply aren't enough bungalows for the number of people who want one. Guelph has a few neighborhoods where bungalows cluster. Riverside Park, built mostly in the 1950s and 60s, is what I call bungalow land. And St. George's Park, closer to downtown, is a mix of century homes and 1950s bungalows, and it's walkable and close to transit. And the third is Old University neighborhood, primarily west of the Hanlon Expressway, tends to have some of the more affordable bungalow options for you. And a few neighborhoods posted big price growth this year. And the reason behind each number matters more than the number itself. Here it goes. Courtright East is up 22% year to date, easily the city's top performer. It's full of large detached homes on big lots, and it's located just south of Stone Road. But part of that jump is the mix shifting. Fewer of the smaller investor-owned student condos along Gordon Street are also selling. In St. George's Park is up 10%. One more home sold there than the same period last year, and it's full of large century homes selling over $1 million. Pulled up that average. An Old University neighborhood is up 5%, but that number blends two different areas, Old University neighborhood and a slice of Dovercliff. And Dovercliff homes are more affordable, and fewer of them sold this year, which shifted the blended average up. So honestly, this should probably be tracked as two separate neighborhoods, in my opinion. Now, the lessons across all three, the neighborhood price jump doesn't always mean your specific home got more valuable. Sometimes it just means the mix of what sold changed. And let's look at the Bank of Canada. Well, it held its rate at 2.25% again in June, the fifth hold in a row, and the market isn't pricing in a cut anytime soon. And the best 5-year fixed rate is still sitting just under 4%. Your leverage right now isn't coming from interest rates. It's coming from inventory and time. Waiting for a rate cut is waiting for the wrong thing in this market, in my opinion. Two more numbers sit underneath all of this. Guelph is still one of the fastest growing cities in Canada, adding roughly 2% more people every year, and that keeps a floor under demand. And jobs are the weaker piece. Unemployment climbed from 5% to 7.1% through 2025 and sat at 6.8 in April of this year. The sharpest drop in employment of any major Ontario city last year was Guelph. Scona Industries did open a second manufacturing location here in June, though it's relatively small counterweight to the whole picture. Now I want to zoom out, and the long-term picture is a good one. Guelph's average price has roughly doubled over the past decade, from the low 400s to about 800,000. Long run, this market has appreciated around 4 to 7% a year. So if you bought and held, you've actually done very well. Short-term prices are down the 4%, as I mentioned earlier, to year to date, and that's a season of patience if you bought in 2022. It's not a crash, it's a correction after a stretch that was never going to be permanent, although it felt as though it was going to be permanent because it happened for well over a decade of significant appreciation. Now, if you're selling, price to today's market, not 2022 comps. The market doesn't care what your neighbor's house sold for or what you still owe on your mortgage. Homes priced right are still generating competition. So here's where all this actually lands. Guelph isn't a market that's falling. It's a market correcting after a few unusual years, with real demand still sitting underneath it, especially for bungalows and for anyone priced out of the GTA. The question isn't really whether now is a good time. It's whether you understand what's actually happening within neighborhoods and property types well enough to make a good decision whenever your time comes when you're looking to move. Now, I do a monthly market update for Guelph and for Waterloo region, which includes Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge. So make sure you like and follow to keep up to date on what's happening in all of these cities.